Hi everybody, back with another chess video. Today we're going to be looking at a game that I had played quite a while ago against a 2300 player. It's a 10-minute rapid. I end up winning the game. I think this is a good game that we can delve into to look at positional play and making these small positional moves during the middle game that can kind of turn the tides for you in your own game. Because a lot of times as you get to the higher ratings, games are decided less and less on one or two blunders. There's still tactics that are, swing a game, but a lot of times it's going to be small positional moves, positional maneuvering, building attacks, and I think this can be a good example of that. So, game starts e4, c5. We develop into a Sicilian, specifically a mainline accelerated dragon. This is all pretty typical opening theory. You see, we're still at a book move, so knight c3. A lot of times, black is going to get their bishop out to any of these three squares. Eventually, they may trade this knight. White will get their bishop out there. Black fianchettos. Knight comes to knight f6. And then oftentimes this black squared bishop may come here, queen here, and a lot of times white will castle queenside in the accelerated dragon. So these are all just normal developing moves. Bishop comes out. Black is looking for ways to trade off this knight for this pawn and then have a couple different attackers on this knight. A lot of times white will either bring this knight back if this bishop is not on c4, or bring this bishop back and exchange this knight for the c6 knight. That's pretty typical ideas. So we see here bishop e3, e6, preparing d5. White's a little bit better here, so it probably wasn't, best play, but perfectly normal moves in the accelerated dragon. Knight d to b5. I'm assuming he was looking to plant his knight here, but there's nothing preventing me from just going d5 straight away. So this was the first mistake. Should have gone queen f3, or actually, no, not queen f3. Should have gone queen d2. I'm sorry, queen d2. And either look to castle kingside or queenside. Queen d2 is normal move. Says queen f3. I'm not really familiar with queen f3, but I guess the idea is just getting the queen off this diagonal. Looks like white is getting to be better here, but typically we'll see queen d2 looking to get this battery going to exchange the dark squared bishop and get it off this really good diagonal. That's typical ideas. Here, I just push d5 because this knight is a bit off sides. In some openings, you do need to watch out if this bishop is on f4, having a knight hop in here and then forking this rook, and if there's anything here, or forking the king. But obviously that doesn't apply here. This knight is just poorly placed. So we exchange in the center. Here, 1, 2, 3 attackers versus only 1 and 2. So, we can kind of look down a line here. Let's say, I'm not going to exchange that. Let's say they exchange this, this, and then black is down a pawn, but it's really about even because I can get my bishop out. There we go. All right. So black is down a pawn, but it's really about even. After this, I get my bishop out. Their king is still in the center, so I have a tempo or two to try to regain that pawn. I think it probably just wants bishop takes b5, maybe. Okay, bishop takes b2 is best. Yeah. So you do have a tempo to regain that pawn. So this is really just an even game if you exchange in the center. So back to the game. After e takes d5, Their knight comes back. Again, another mistake because you're leaving your king in the center. This pawn really isn't worth kind of hanging on to for the black side too much and devoting too much resources. So this knight moved once and moved back for really nothing. So they just wasted a tempo. A guiding principle is try not to move the same piece twice before every piece has been developed and you're castled. This is kind of an example of why, just because you waste too much time giving your opponent a couple tempi that you just don't need to, when you could be better developing your pieces and getting a safer king. So I play rook e8 just thinking, let me take advantage of this open file. It's a miss. Not a mistake. It's not a bad move. It's just there is a better move. So knight takes d4. Let's say bishop takes. Maybe rook e8 is best. Yeah, rook e8. Come back. I can hop my knight in here. And black is just really much better. Likes d4. Oh, you can't even take. Okay, yeah. All right, d4. You can't take because bishop's. All right, I missed that one again. So I play rook e8. It is a miss, but it's about even. It's about even. So I made my own positional mistakes. Made my own positional mistakes in this game. White castles finally. And let's continue. So knight g4. Knight g4 I think is best. Just trying to exchange this bishop so that I have the only dark squared bishop in the game. Just patrolling this really good diagonal. They exchange knights. In the Accelerated Dragon, you will see that knight exchange for the c6 knight. Very normal. You often want to take back with the b pawn. In one line in the opening, you would take back. You may take back with the d pawn, but really often it's b takes c6, and then he goes bishop to the center, trying to exchange these dark squared bishops because mine is just really in a great position. So he's thinking, let me get rid of this dark squared bishop and try to, blunt the strengths and the better pieces in my position. I just go knight back because this knight kind of did its job, and I wanted to keep this dark squared bishop. It's listed as a mistake. It's suggesting that queen c7 is best and exchanging the bishops isn't a bad idea because queen c7, you cannot exchange. I just come in for mate. So queen c7, probably kicking my knight back or something along those lines. So let's maybe look at what that might look like. Queen c7. d3. Okay, so just blocking that. And then, all right, knight e5. So black is slightly better. I probably would not have played knight e5 in the game. I probably would have just played safe and brought my knight back. But we continue on. All right, so knight f6. Knight a4, looking to rotate the knight to this. It's not so much of an outpost square just yet because I can look to trade this knight off. I can kind of force the trade since I still have a knight and a dark squared bishop that can attack it, although there's no pawns that can come attack it. But it's an inaccuracy because it's just not a good plan because the knight will have no permanent square there. It can be kicked around pretty quick. So knight a4, queen c7, just looking to get my queen off this diagonal, looking to avoid any issues with this knight coming to here and then, either landing like here or something weird. They play h3, just getting a luft for their king. There's not really any threats right here because this bishop is never going to be on b8, and this knight is not going to be able to hop in there now. So just a normal luft move. Bishop f5, just developing my light squared bishop. If I came here, he would just develop his rook there. We might eventually exchange it, but I like the idea. I like the idea of having this bishop here attacking this pawn. You're probably not going to see g4 pushed here just because it's so weakening on the king side. Even if he did, I can just pull back. But this is a better square for my bishop, is kind of my thinking. It's a mistake, but this, I was thinking here, and then if the knight came here, I would just have to bring my bishop back anyway. So I really wasn't too like I wasn't interested really in kind of doing that. So that's why I chose. If I can go back to it, bishop f5. But it's a mistake. It's not the best move. According to the engine, but according to kind of what I would have naturally played, I'm fine with bishop f5. C3, just securing this pawn, securing this bishop in the center. I pull my bishop back because in the game, I'm not exactly sure what I was thinking, but I think I reroute it to here, actually. I think I do reroute it there. But let's... So I pull my bishop back. I think maybe I was afraid of like exchanging bishops here. Like I wanted to keep my light squared bishop, and I knew their light squared bishop wasn't coming here anytime soon to attack my king. So maybe I just wanted to keep it. Not exactly sure. Bishop a6. All right, so I do end up playing bishop a6. Now that this pawn is not really a target, the c pawn, and I wanted to try to keep my I believe I wanted to try to keep my light squared bishops on the board. All right, bishop e3. I think, yeah, I come back c8, bishop c8. I wanted to keep my light squared bishop because I believed I was in a better position. I believed with these two pawns here I was in a better position, but bishop c8's an inaccuracy. Let's see. Bishop takes d3. Yeah. So exchanging, the engine says, is better. Looking back, if I played that now, I probably would have exchanged, but you can see I just wasted so many tempi going bishop f5, bishop c8, bishop a6, bishop c8. I just wasted so many tempi doing really nothing at all for my position, just losing my slight advantage. So knight c5 is played. The only good thing is this bishop does blunt this knight pretty well, but my rooks are not connected, so it's more of a liability than any type of an asset, being on c8. A5, if I recall, I didn't really know exactly what to do in this position, so I thought, let me just make a random pawn move and try to, push down the board, but definitely an inaccuracy. The engine likes knight d7, trying to kick this knight off of this square. Looking at it now, I probably would have played that, but at the time, I think I just needed a move to kind of return the tempo back to my opponent, because I don't think I knew what to do exactly. So I play a5, it's a mistake. They just stop the progress of that pawn with a4. I think that's a perfectly logical move. It's an inaccuracy. Engine likes queen. What is it? Queen a4. Just kind of putting some pressure on this pawn and putting pressure here. It's really still all about even. Plus 0.4, plus 0.6. And, at the 2000 level, this is all really about even. It's still going to take a couple moves to kind of swing the game either way. A4, queen d6, and looking to maybe get this bishop off here and take here. I'm not exactly sure what I was thinking. It's an inaccuracy, so here is a good example of looking for moves in the middle game to try to better your position, but it's hard to do that if you don't have an exact plan of what you should be doing. So you can see a couple of my moves, like bringing my bishop here, then back, then here, then back, pushing this pawn, queen move here. There's just not a ton of direction or coordination in my pieces. So the engine really likes trading off this knight for the c5 knight. Okay to exchange bishops, and then counter to that, I was just really wasting time and not really doing anything too productive. So we can kind of look at that line that the engine wanted. So let's say knight d7, or no, or a5. Okay, let's say knight d7. Check if that was right. It just threw the evaluation. Yeah, no, I think the knight. I think I'm messing this up. Knight c5, knight d7. Oh, it's like jumping ahead. Say before a5, play here, take, and I'd probably take with the bishop to connect rooks. From what game, maybe exchange the bishops. Then it's about even. So let's see what else it says. Queen d2, a5. Okay. So still some maneuvering, expanding on the queen side, maybe trying to blunt here. Takes, maybe pushing here. But it's an even game. It's an even game. Okay. Queen f3. Looking to put pressure on this knight. Knight d7, finally looking to trade it off. This square is a little bit weak, but kind of tough for anything to really put some pressure on that square with this d pawn, d5 pawn. Taking with the bishop is best, I believe, because the rooks are get connected. Interesting. It wants taking with, I think, yeah, bishop takes, d takes. Okay, interesting. I don't think I would have played this in the game. I don't think I would have found this because I would have been worried about this pawn blocking this e pawn in and preventing expansion there. But that seems to be the best move. All right, let's get back to the game. Bishop takes, bishop takes. Expanding on the queen side. c5. Rooks now opposing each other, trying to battle for this open file. Bishop here, trying to get a little pressure on this queen. Maybe I can push d4 at some point. Queen here. I don't think that's a good move. Yeah. So you exchange queens, you ruin the pawn structure, and then there's not really a good way for white to put much pressure here, especially with these two pawns on dark squares. So queen takes, and then just rook to the center is what I was thinking, but I think it wants exchange of rooks, and then rook b8, rook b8, push. This pawn is hanging. This pawn's blundered. This pawn is probably going to end up being a bit of a liability. So connected pass pawns in the center. All right. So rook 88's at an accuracy. What I was thinking was just rooks to the center behind passed pawns. 2, getting king to the center, king activity. It's still, black is slightly better, but it's really about even. It's really about even. d4, I was thinking, all right, here's my pawn break. I can create a passed pawn. It's a mistake because the engine really does like exchanging in the center and then this rook kind of patrolling back here, supporting these pawns. But my thinking was exchange in the center and get a passed pawn. That's what I was thinking. Rook takes on e8. Bishop takes. So keeping this rook behind this pawn and now x-raying the bishop is really what I was thinking. D takes d4. Probably should take back with the rook. Wait for the engine to catch up. Okay, yeah, so rook takes is good. D takes D4 is slightly better, but really it's about even. King E2. You can notice this G2 pawn is weak, so maybe getting my bishop there. Bishop C6. This pawn is this pawn is weak, and there's really no dark squared bishops or anything to protect it, so only can be protected with this rook, so rook D5. You can try to go here, but I don't think that's going to be best because, yeah, rook E8, that's a blunder. All right, so forget that. Go back a move. Rook D5. C3, I'm not exactly sure what he was thinking. Maybe just supporting that bishop, but it wasn't really under much firepower or much threat. Rook E5 check, getting off of this light square diagonal, but still supporting this pawn. King F2. Notices G2 is undefended and weak, so moves back there to support it. Bishop F7, getting off of this diagonal in case there's any pushes here. Bishop E2, I think he wants to come here to try to undouble his pawns, but if that's the case, I can go bishop here, I can go bishop here, so it's not like a forced exchange. Not a forced exchange. King F6, just getting my king to the center. Yeah, bishop A6. Bishop A6 and bishop C8 are both perfectly fine. Rook C2. Attacking the rook, but it's a one-move threat. He might go here, but if he goes here, maybe I come up here. It doesn't really go anywhere. It's a good move, but there's not like I had many other options for good moves. Rook 2, D4. He can't take because I take. Obviously not going to exchange for a bishop, and you can't push because I take, and then this pawn is going to fall, and this pawn, these are connected past pawns. So, B takes, bishop takes, rook D4, bishop E3. Here, hard for white to win this pawn, given that it's an opposite color to his bishop. He only would have the rook and the king to attack. This rook is patrolling, protecting it, and really hard to defend. This pawn, however, same color as my bishop. The king is too far away from it. The rook is the only thing defending it. The light squared bishop is not really able to come defend it since my bishop is already attacking it. So more prospects for black, less prospects for white as the specifics of the endgame start to unfold. Bishop C6. It's an inaccuracy. Bishop B1. Or no, not. Bishop, what does it want? Oh. Okay, so it wants bishop here. Exchange, exchange. I would just go here. Maybe there. There. Looks like black is better, but not by a crazy amount. Right? So bishop c6 inaccuracy. Rook c5. Still patrolling this file. Putting pressure on this bishop. Okay. Bishop b5. Protecting this pawn. Now the rook is cut off from this pawn, so always something to keep in mind. An inaccuracy, because I can keep getting my king to the center, and there's nothing I got to worry about here. Do this. You know, you may be thinking coming around here. Let's do check. Say king here, trying to get to the center. Check. And then what do you think? King e3. here, here. Then, yeah, okay. So, better for black on that line. Rook d2. Trying to force the exchange because takes. I can walk my king over and force the exchange on the a4 pawn because his a4 pawn is the same color as my bishop, while he cannot do that with the a5 pawn because it's opposite color to his bishop, so he has nothing that he can attack it and force the exchange with. All right, so bishop takes c2. Black is better here. This is a better endgame for black. My idea was walk my king over, force the exchange, promote. Worst case, this bishop can defend my f7 pawn, and he's just going to be too slow to bring his king down here to force that exchange. Okay. Secure it. f6. 4. King c5. Bringing my king over to force the exchange and have an uncontested passed pawn. You can just play here. Takes. Not interested in forcing the exchange. Maybe still some ideas of patrolling here and kind of coming in and winning these pawns, but really, black has a light squared bishop that can patrol the only light squares left because it's going to be 1, 2 dark squares after it pushes. Black is promoting that pawn. Black is promoting the a pawn. Take that pawn all you want. It doesn't matter because I'm promoting. Move my king in here. There's no other squares that black can get, that the bishop can get to. So bishop has to either give itself up or evacuate that square. Pushing here to promote. Doesn't matter that there's all these pawns and this bishop because black is completely winning now. The idea here, separate the king from this pawn. So just give checks. Supported by the bishop. And then black cannot push this pawn. Way too slow to get this pawn down here to support. Even if he does, this bishop is playing a supporting role guarding g8. So I'm bringing my king in. He resigns, but it was over once I was going to be able to promote this a pawn. So you're going to be able to move your king in, capture these pawns, trade off bishops, and checkmate with a queen. So this game, go back to the start, had a very standard opening, accelerated dragon, up to move 8, perfectly normal moves, really about even, maybe white's slightly better, but really about even. First waste of a move is knight bd5. You're not coming in here because there's no bishop on f4 supporting it. You're not coming in here because it's my move, so I have the tempo to push that. Waste of a move, a positional mistake. He should have just either castled, but waste of a move. So these are all normal accelerated dragon moves, exchanging in the center, opening things up, and looking to trade off in the center and get this bishop very active. Knight had no choice but to go back. Knight couldn't go to a3 because it's just doing absolutely nothing there. So we continue. Rook e8's a mistake. Should have done some more calculation exchange in the center, but it's a reasonable move. I think that's a reasonable move. Castles. Looking to get this bishop captured or exchanged for a knight so I can have the only dark squared bishop. Knight takes c6 is a miss because it should have done, where is it? Knight takes, what was it? Oh no, ow. Should have done bishop takes since this defender was no longer on it. But continue. Connected pawns in the center. Here, engine says c7, and You can't exchange just yet because then you give up mate, but you create a little bit of a luft, block any mate ideas, and then it likes knight there. I'd be worried about maybe f4, but that's probably too weakening. Yes, that's a good move, but I think it's black. Yeah, black is better. So there's some maneuvering. Bishop f5. What I was thinking was attacking here, but it's really a mistake because it's just better served on this diagonal. Go back. Bishop and look on that. All right, so you see here, bishop f5. Just, I didn't even, probably didn't even think about this. Just a simple pawn move, supporting the bishop in the center. Bishop back, waste of a tempo. Their bishop gets to seemingly, a better square, but it looks like a waste of a tempo. But I think that's a better square for that bishop. Bishop a6, just more maneuvering. Should have traded there, but, looking back, I should have done that, but that's pretty easy to say. Knight to seemingly an outpost square. Just looking for a random move, but kind of wasting time. Didn't really have good positional sense. Queen there, supporting the knight. Trading off. Black is getting to be slightly better. I have 2 pawns in the center. My rooks are more active. And I have better prospects with these 2 pawns and this backwards pawn really not having much space there. Okay, so we continue. Been about even. Black slightly better for a lot of this game, but mistakes on both our parts. And then as we get to the end game, I just have a little bit better maneuvering, better sense about where to put my pieces, especially compared to how I was playing in the middle game. So, end game, just trying to maneuver your pieces, see what threats you can make. Noticing that this light squared bishop is the same color as this light squared pawn is the same color as my pawn, so I do have some attacking chances there. Just more maneuvering, getting my king more active, forcing an exchange where I see an opportunity to get a passed pawn and what I have identified as a mistake in their endgame play. So just positional maneuvering, putting yourself in a position where you're not forcing a mistake, but you're just making it more likely that they run out of good moves, and a mistake is more likely. So here, black is winning, looking to force the exchange on a4, and white has really no option because either they exchange the light squared bishops and I promote, or they keep the light squared bishop and I promote, and it just delays the end of the game. So, promote, check, separating this king from this pawn so that my queen can prevent it from promoting. And here, walking my king in to support, and they resign. Lessons here, positional maneuvering, having a plan during the middle game, or at least having a better sense of where to put your pieces will save you wasting tempi, and let you have better chances of capitalizing on opponents' mistakes when they make it, as they waste time and maneuver their pieces in ways that are pretty uncoordinated. So you could say we both kind of had that in this game, where we were wasting time, wasting moves that we didn't really have a sense of where to place our pieces. In the end game, I feel like I had a much better sense of where to put my pieces, of how to coordinate, getting a plan going for the end game. So that's how I was able to capitalize. But you see, it was a pretty even game throughout. Black was slightly better at some points, but through my own positional mistakes, I was able to get to a winning end game and then capitalize on their weaknesses. That's a lot of what higher games are going to be, is positional maneuvering, coordinating your pieces as best you can, and capitalizing on weak squares, backwards pawns, things like that, because less and less games will be decided by blunders. Tactics are always going to be important to keep an eye on and prevent or capitalize on, but really positional maneuvering and making sure that every move, every tempo is utilized as best as possible. And if you don't have a plan, taking a second to try to think, what pieces can I develop better? what pieces are not coordinated that they could be. Are my rooks connected? Is my bishop on an active square? Is my knight on an outpost square? Is there any weak squares I could be coordinating or I could be attacking? So those are kind of things that you need to be thinking about during the middle game. And then during the end game, you are going to be looking at what weaknesses do they have? What ways do I have to create a passed pawn? Or do they have anything that I need to watch out for that I need to prevent passed pawns from being made? So those are kind of your thinking in the middle and end game. Opening, we both played a pretty even opening, just really mainline accelerated dragon, nothing crazy there. So the game was really decided in the middle game. It was even because we were both making positional mistakes, wasting time. In the end game, I capitalized and saw my opportunity where he didn't and kind of kept wasting time and wasting moves. And that's kind of the flavor of this game. So I'll see you guys in the next one. If you have any tips or ideas in the comments for how I could have played better, always just let me know. If you want to play any games, send me a friend request on chess.com. Send me leave a comment, and we can always play some games. If you're higher rated, lower rated, would love to get some games in. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.